right. Good morning, good morning, my friends out there in, I almost said Radio Land. Almost said Radio Land. And over there on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, and of course, my friends on IG as well. Happy Wednesday morning to you, man. Welcome to the best day of the week. You know how we do. It doesn't matter how the week got started. Here we are. We're at the middle. And all we need to do is to figure a way, man, to push ourselves over the hump and finish the week strong. So I'm always excited to be able to spend some time with you at this time of the week. So welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who might be hanging out with us for the first time, thank you for joining. If you are not joining us live and you're watching this, the recorded version, hey, we appreciate the love nonetheless. Hopefully you can join us live the next time and bring a friend, all right? And don't forget to leave a comment. In fact, during the conversation, I love to have a conversation with you. So, while I'm here yapping away, feel free to join in, feel free to comment, feel free to ask a question. Last week, I shared some thoughts with you. We spoke about whether or not a bad person can be a good leader. Remember that? And I think the jury is still out as to on the part of many people as to whether or not a bad person can be a good leader. And from my perspective, I think the challenge that most of us have is that when we look at leadership, we look at it through the prism of virtue, right? Someone who is honest and ethical and upright, and so it's hard for people to reconcile this idea of a bad person being a good leader when you think of all the virtuous things that a leader should do and stand for. But I think if you look at it from the perspective that leadership really boils down to influence, the ability to inspire, or perhaps I shouldn't use the word inspire, because again, that suggests goodness and virtue. The ability to get someone or get people to do things, right? To influence their behavior, their attitudes, even their beliefs. If you look at leadership from that perspective, then yes, a bad person can be a good leader because they can influence, they can get people to do things that perhaps I would not normally do. So I kind of want to continue the conversation then on leadership this week, and can or does a leader set the tone for a team? And when I say team here, I'm using the term very broadly, right? It could be a really small group of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people. Or it could be, a company, a huge company, or even a country. And I sigh because my battery is about to die on my camera, man. Jeez. Anyway, someone in a leadership role undoubtedly, again, regardless of the size of the team, has the ability and does contribute to the culture within that team, within that organization, right? And so from that perspective, I would argue that the leader is the most important person on the team. Obviously, perhaps in dysfunctional situations, someone who's not in leadership role can end up influencing the team perhaps more than anybody else. But generally speaking, I would argue that the leader is a person who has the ability to influence a team most profoundly, and that makes them the most important person on the team from that perspective, because they set the tone by the way they act, the way they talk, the way they respond to others, the way they treat people every single day, whether it's those people that are directly on the team under their charge or people that the team is interacting with, right? The leader, people take their cue from the leader. They follow the leader. They emulate them, they imitate or mimic, for want of a better term, the way they would treat others, right? They mimic the way the leader behaves, and so the way the leader treat people, whether they treat them with respect or they're disrespectful, the people under his or her charge is going to do the same thing as well, right? They're going to mimic them. There's no doubt, I would argue, that, and I'm sure you'd agree, being in a leadership position gives you power and it gives you prestige, right? And unfortunately, there are some people who see that position as carte blanche, man, to wield that power and to peddle that influence in any which way they choose. But as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. And so practicing good leadership, in other words, influencing people in a positive way, is not about exerting powers, right? It's not about the power of one, but the power to bring out the best, to use your position, use your title, use that unique place that you're in, using that power to bring out the best in everyone under your charge for their personal good and ultimately for the good of the organization, for the good of the team. One sign of effective leadership is when things go right. I think I often argue that it's one of the reasons why people often shy away from leadership positions, because when things go right, the team should get the credit, right? And when things kind of fall off the rails, when they don't go so right, then the leader has to accept the responsibility, right? You have to, and a lot of people just don't want to do that, right? They want to get all the praise. They want to have all the power, all the prestige, all the praise. And then when stuff starts hitting the fan, they kind of point their fingers in different directions. And it just does not work that way at all. So, it's really important that we recognize that, right? And because I think those expectations of passing on the praise and accepting the blame puts a lot of pressure on people. And the fact is that I get it that leaders are human beings, and all of us like praise, right? And nobody wants to feel crappy, but hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And so there are times when you just simply have to do that. There are times when you may not feel up to the task physically, emotionally, mentally, but you still have to step up to the plate, because everybody is looking to you. Everybody is looking to you for your guidance. And so, just having that great attitude and stepping up to the plate is going to be key in terms of how the people under your charge step up and deal with times of disruption and adversity as well. So again, you can't go, well, I'm the leader, so I get to do what I want to do, and you do what I tell you to do, right? The attitude of do as I say and not as I do is not a really good a mantra for leadership. And I often draw the analogy of, when you're a child and you're expected to behave in a certain way, and if you didn't, then you get scolded, you get punished, you'll get disciplined, sometimes severely. But then you become an adult, and because you can't be scolded or disciplined in the way that you were being disciplined as a child, unfortunately, some of us take that again as carte blanche, as free reign to behave in any which way that we feel we should. And I want to say, no, absolutely not. You, in fact, have a greater responsibility now that you're an adult to conduct yourself in a way that is going to be acceptable. So again, as a leader, everybody is focused on you. Everybody is looking at you. And so you have that responsibility. And I want to challenge you as leaders, because we're all leaders in our own right. And even if you don't have a leadership role on your job, you have a leadership role in your family. You're the mother, you're the father. So, and that makes you the leader of that family. So I want to challenge you to reflect on how your behaviors and your attitude reflect the essence of how other people act, right? Again, it may not be a big, powerful leadership position or title that you have, but I really want you to be aware that you set the standard for how those people around you will behave. So I want to share 4 ideas as to how, as a leader, you are setting the tone. As usual, I'm going to go to my banner, and I apologize to my friends over here on IG because you won't be able to see the banner. But here we go. 4 ideas on how that I believe will help you to be mindful of the fact that as a leader, you set the tone and how you can set the right tone, right? The first one is that I think we should strive to become the leader that we would want to follow. So, my encouragement to you is to really think of who your ideal, let's say your ideal leader would be. What kind of person would that be? And then strive to become that, because that's the kind of person you'd want to follow. And it's fair to say that if you'd want to follow that person, other people would want to follow that person as well. And so my argument is that you should strive to be a leader who is uplifting, a leader who is encouraging, a leader who is inspiring, a leader who is approachable. I'm actually going to speak on that specifically in a minute. But those are the kinds of people who are kinds of leaders that people would gravitate towards, right? Especially when you think of leadership through the moral prism, right? Someone who's honest and ethical, and upright and upstanding. Strive to be that person, because I think that's a person that I'm assuming that's a person that you'd want to follow as well. And so we should all strive to be that. Secondly, my friends, I think we should always be accessible. I'm reminded of a conversation I was having when I was a young officer, and I was talking to the regimental sergeant major. And then he's like, no, sir, I don't believe in open door policy. And I completely get it, especially in an environment, because I think you have to also be mindful of the overall culture of the organization, the team that you're a part of, right? And there's such a strict hierarchy and chain of command in the military that it's just not advisable to have a private just walk into the colonel's office to go shoot off, right? It just doesn't happen. But so that's not really what I'm talking about, having an open door policy. And I imagine that in the civilian world, it would be a little bit different. And so even a policy, let's say like that, an open door policy would have to be managed with wisdom. But when I say be accessible always, what I really mean is be someone who's open, man, who the team can always feel like, I have an opinion, and the leader would give me a listening ear, right? You have to create an environment where people are at ease around you and feel that, yeah, this is a person who is approachable. This is someone who will give me the time of day. Because believe me, everybody wants to have a voice. Everyone wants to have a voice. You want to have a voice, and the people who are under your charge want to have a voice as well. And so you choosing to be accessible creates that environment, creates that culture where people feel that they have a voice, and it really just adds to the success of the team. So, yeah, my camera just went there. I apologize for that. So let's switch to the FaceTime camera. There I am. Right. So, so number one, be the leader that you'd want to be. Number two, always be accessible. Number three, challenge your team. I think that's really important to challenge the team. Look, if everything, what I know is that if everything is too good, everything is too smooth, then you're robbing yourself of being awesome. And so your job as a leader is to challenge the team, right? Hopefully you're practicing what I call good personal leadership from the outset, and you're challenging yourself. Because if you are not the kind of person who challenges yourself, then you have absolutely no credibility. You cannot challenge others. If you don't know what it is like to push yourself past your perceived limitations, how in the world do you think that you'll be able to challenge and encourage others to do the same? It's not possible. So if you start, let's assume that you're starting there as the kind of person who challenge yourself, then you have to challenge your team as well. Recognize that as individuals and collectively as a team, there's so much more that we can achieve, so much more that we can become. And your job as a leader is to bring the best out of the individuals and hence the team. Which leads me to my fourth point, which is that you create an empowering environment. I think perhaps the greatest responsibility of any leader is to develop other leaders, in my opinion, right? Do you want to work towards achieving the vision or the mission of the team? Absolutely. Absolutely. But how do you achieve that? How do you fulfill the team's vision? How do you accomplish the mission? It's through the efforts of others. And when you the better, the more capable, the more competent the people on your team are, the easier your job is, the more likely it is that the team is going to accomplish the mission. And the easier it is for you to lead that team because you just have a really competent set of people that you're working with. And one of the ways to make sure that that happens is to pour yourself into these people, right? To create an environment where people feel empowered. They feel that, as I said earlier, they have a voice, and they can express their opinions, get your feedback, learn from those interactions. You're challenging them, which is forcing them to come out of their comfort zone and growing their skills, gaining new knowledge, etc., etc. So when you create an empowering environment, an environment where, because you are confident in your own abilities, you're not worried that John or Mary is going to come take your position, you can freely pour yourself into them and watch them grow, watch them blossom, right? They become like your kids, man, because you are investing so much of yourself in them. And, as I say, a rising tide floats all boats. It's an amazing way, I think, to really create a culture of success, a culture of excellence on any team, regardless of the size. But it starts with a leader. It starts with the kind of leadership that leader espouses, right? The leader, again, sets the tone. Winston, what's up, cuz? Sets the tone for the team. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for joining in. Looking forward to connecting next week. Make sure you bring your friends. Hey, and I want to encourage you to join me over on youtube.com/Keep On Pushing Always. That's my podcast, Keep On Pushing TV, where we share we feature guests, amazing guests, really successful people who share ideas and insights into how you yourself can reach your goals as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. Come over, take a look at the videos there, make a comment and subscribe to Keep On Pushing Always on YouTube. Until we connect next week, yep, you know the deal. Ron, great to see you, my friend. How are you? Yeah, so until we connect next week, you know the deal, man. You know the deal. Keep on pushing.